This video will be seeing about the contract clauses that boosts your cash flow as a contractor. The cash flow is the oxygen of the construction contract. Unlike other businesses, if cash flow is cut, the project will entirely die. And if any disruptions to the cash flow, that will end up in a huge loss, not only to the contractor, but also to the employer. So while negotiating the contracts as a contractor, you should be careful in these classes to keep your cash flow perfectly. And being an employer also, see, if your contractor is not making profit, if your contractor's cash flow is not met, your project will get affected. So both employees and contractors should have a knowledge on this class that it will have a bottleneck on the project progress. Most disputes arise due to delays in certifications and payments. So right classes create a clear right and timelines. The first is the advance payment class. The first payment of the project is the advance payment. Usually it might be 5%, 10% or 20%, depends on the size of the project. So what are the key points should be included are the percentage, how is the repayment recovery, whether you are going to recover the 5% from every IPCs or every bills, or you are going to recover more in the first certain bills and not going to recover in the later bills. That has to be discussed. And what is the security the contractor is going to submit, whether it's a bank guarantee or a check or whatever it may be. So the performance, the advance bank guarantee, the contractor has to submit. And what is the timing? Usually the advance payment is linked with the security. So once the security check or the security guarantee is submitted, within a period of 10 days, the advance payment has to be released. Interim payment mechanism or the progress payment mechanism, it defines the payment cycle. Usually the payment cycle depends on the certification. So your payment will be from the certification 28 days or 30 days or 90 days, it depends. The shorter the cycles, it protects your cash flow. There are certain projects which says that we give 90 days, 180 days. That is a project killer for sure. Even large MNCs can't handle that. Time for certification. So now the game is here. Usually the payment is linked with the certification. So what if the certification itself delays? So have a defined timeline for the certification. For example, the contractor has completed the work and raised the certification. It has to be approved within 10 days. It has to be approved within a week. So that should be very clear in the contract. Time for payment. It specifies the payment days after certification. So shorter periods protects your cash position. This is for all kind of payments. Interest on late payments. There are contracts which very clearly write that whenever there is a delay in payment, the interest has to be paid to the contractor. We have worked in projects where we have received the interest also. See, the intention is not to raise or to receive the interest. The intention is to avoid the delay in the certifications. So that is the intention. Retention and early releases. So retentions are usually connected with the project closure and with the defect liability period. In certain cases, you might negotiate lower retentions as possible. In some projects, we have seen retentions 10% and 20%, which is very huge. Maximum negotiate to 5%. The 5% of the project value should be under the control of the employer for a period of 2 years. That's fine. Or you can negotiate a security tool against your retention and try to have part retention classes. For example, if you have completed a part of the work or a percentage of the work on a pro rata basis, at least your retention has to be released. For example, you have 100 punch points and 99 has been closed, and the single punch point should not close your entire retention. At least a 50% has to be released. So that has to be negotiated at the time of contract. Variation, valuation, and payment. So this now we are moving to the variation classes and the claims classes. So better have the variation rates or negotiate the variation rates as soon as the variation occurs. Change in law and additional cost. Whenever there is a change in law, you might be already in the speed of completing the project and the change in law hits. The contractor observes the cost, but you should not go till the end of the project to claim this cost. It has to be done at the right places because it will affect your cash flow where you doesn't have visibility. You might think that we can finish the project with the budget we have already framed and then we can claim later. But this cash flow will put a pressure on your project completion that will question your reputability, credibility, and if the project is not delivered on time, then that's going to affect your future projects also. Price adjustment clauses. So most public sectors projects and large projects have these clauses, price adjustment clauses, but smaller contracts, usually they don't carry this, but this price adjustment clause is very important because we know that when we work in certain projects, the value of certain commodities are highly fluctuating and it has to be given in a price adjustment clause. And this clause not only favors the contractor, most time it favors the employer also. Mobilization and demobilization cost. So you clarify if you're a subcontractor or you are a construction contractor, you don't do design, procurement, and just do construction. In that case, you have to have a separate class that deals with the mobilization and demobilization. Because large projects might require multiple mobilization and demobilization, and that's going to cost a lot for the contractor. The contractor should be very clear about the mobilization and the demobilization cost. Materials on-site and off-site payment. So if certain materials are delivered directly on site, that has to be paid immediately. And that will reduce the inventory burden of the contractor. Prolongation and compensations. So this is completely claims. We have seen so many videos on this. Suspension payment clause. Yes, suspension. If there is a suspension, there should be a particular time when the employer has to compensate the contractor. There may be cushion. For the first 30 days, you should not ask anything. For the first 15 days, there is no payment. But after that, they usually pay because they might not know when the suspension closes. The suspension may lead to termination also. Usually, that's the interlink. So termination payment clauses, termination depends on the types of termination. It might be termination due to default, termination due to force majeure, or termination due to the employer's own convenience. So it clarifies the payment for the cost, profit, or unexecuted works and the materials. It should be very clear. Most contracts, it's very clear in larger contracts, but still smaller contracts and Tier 2, Tier 3 contractors has to adopt this to keep their cash flows intact. Performance security reductions. So reducing the performance security is a kind of a cash flow. So even though the bank is giving a bank guarantee, they're going to lock a certain amount for this, and that is going to be charged. There are going to be financial charges upon that, and if there is any delay, these financial charges also increases. So try to negotiate the bond value to have a free working capital. Back-to-back payment clauses with subcontract. This is an usual way. That is, most contractors are aware that the risk has to be transferred exactly. For example, if they have a 30 days credit period, they try to give it 45 days credit period with the subcontractor. So that's how they transfer it. And most clauses are back-to-back. But back-to-back is not actually a binding under law. Each contract will be seen separately. But the contractor has to design a contract to subcontractor in such a way that it reflects a back-to-back contract. There is no back-to-back contract in under law because every contract will be dealt in a separate way. Yeah, by this we can come to the end of this session. And if you require any support in drafting your construction contracts or reviewing the contracts, please contact us on the below numbers. For claims, services, and corporate trainings, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you.